and welcome to another episode of Fear the Talking Heads. I'm Barb, your host, and I'm joined today by Chris Harris. Hi, Chris.
Hey.
And if you're new to the channel and this is the first video that you're seeing, how I do this is I have a rotating cast of guest co-hosts because adding someone else to the mix may make things a little more livened up and give you two different thoughts on the same movie. So thank you, Chris, so much for joining me on this.
Yeah.
We're talking
Thanks for having me
today
again.
about one of your favorites,
Oh,
Scout
yep.
Taylor-Compton.
Yes. Love Scout.
Now, when did you first become a fan of Scout's work?
I'd love to give you this fancy answer, but it's going to be the same answer that 98% of the people are going to have, in Zombies Halloween, which I love. Just every actor in that is just great and fantastic. And yeah, you cling on to an actor, you find something they're in, you're like, wow, she's a good actress, and you just start looking stuff up. You start looking films up, and you start watching her, and then I met her at Scarefest a couple of years ago. I was hooked.
Yeah,
She's
that's
awesome.
I was gonna say that's the same for me. I didn't realize that that's how you ended up noticing her.
Yeah.
That was probably the first movie that I had seen her in was Rob Zombie's Halloween. I've mentioned this before on previous episodes, but being that I've been trying to do this series where we take one actor, a confirmed celebrity guest from this year's 2025 Scarefest that happens in October in Lexington, Kentucky, I'm trying to pull from their list of guests that are coming. And when I do that, it tends to pull me in all kinds of cool different directions of seeing movies that I otherwise it just flew right over my head.
Right.
So, and like you said in one of the past episodes that you and I did, you go to Tubi and you type in someone's name and you're just going to get this whole,
Oh yeah.
list.
Type in Scout's name on Tubi. You
Yes.
got a weekend worth of watching.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she's got it if you on Shudder for sure.
Mhm.
But if, if you're someone that really doesn't have a ton of the streaming apps, maybe you just have Netflix and no other streaming apps, make sure to get Tubi. Make sure to download Tubi
Yeah. No,
because
please don't depend on Netflix for your horror.
oh, I mean, they have some, but it's not an
Um,
extensive
yeah, but
catalog.
nothing like Tubi, and even Peacock's really good.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. Peacock as well. But so one of the movies we definitely wanted to cover at least three movies that maybe you have missed over the years. So the first movie that we're going to talk about today is Feral from 2017. This one, of course, has Scout in it, and she's with some friends. She's out camping. And this is one of those movies that I literally looked at going, "Now, this is the reason why I don't go tent camping."
Mhm.
This is just one more reason to add to the list. One of them, of course, this is how it always starts. One of the guys has to pee.
Yeah, sorry.
So like, okay, well, it's got to start somewhere, right? So he goes out and he encounters this inhuman kind of creature thing that's it wasn't even really walking around on 2 feet. It was
Uh,
almost like, ugh,
yeah.
creepy. It was the creepiest of the movies that of these three. And so it's basically like an infection-based kind of horror. So you think rabies meets cabin fever.
Mhm.
And so they're all trying to figure this out as they're going along. And when they're around the campfire too, kind of in the beginning, they're talking about how each one of them are in med school for something, and Scout's character is an epidemiologist. So
Convenient.
convenient, very
Yeah.
convenient. I was thinking, I see what you're
Yeah.
doing there.
Gosh.
So as far as the creature itself, I really, and I don't know if you felt this way too, Chris, but I really got the feeling it was like The Descent, if you've seen that movie.
Can remind you of a lot of these movies because a lot of them, apparently, all the creatures like this live in the woods. Where would horror movies be without the woods or cabins?
Lou Temple is in it as well, and I really liked his character in this.
Yeah.
'Cause he's trying to explain to them when they come to his cabin with someone that is infected. You see he's kind of looking at the person, and he knows something. At some point he's saying, that's, your friend, you're gonna have to, I think they're too far now and they're infected. So
Yeah.
this movie was pretty solid. I felt afraid afterwards enough to where I kind of had to stay up for a while. I didn't want to go to sleep right away after watching it.
Do you live near the woods? Was that it? You're
I
like
don't live near the
make sure
woods.
your door's locked at the end. Like you look out back to the woods and could be like, I don't know.
I
But
don't, but it did make me kind of check to make sure that the garage door was locked and that the front door was locked. I'm not even kidding.
yeah,
It had an effect on me. And because these things, first of all, the creatures themselves, the kind of camera angles that they did walking towards the door to try to see what's going on, the way they have the camera focus so tight on her face and the door, you're just waiting for something to happen, and that's just
mhm.
really good directing.
Yeah, it's a
And
good put together movie for what's basically an independent horror movie. Uh,
right.
good, good script, not too much campiness.
And out in the woods, when you have someone who's lost and trying to get back to the cabin, you're sitting there kind of on the edge of your seat because you can hear the growling in the
Mhm.
distance. You're also seeing the how dark it is, and please know when you see the darkness in a movie scene, know that for that character it's even darker. They're just brightening it up a little bit so that the viewers can see, but try to actually picture it being even darker than that because there's no street lights. This is in the woods. This reminded me so much of a little story just to interject here. My grandparents, when they had this trailer up in, I think it was Waupaca, Wisconsin. I don't know what possessed me to watch this movie after they had gone to sleep, but I watched Mind Ripper. It has, I think, Lance Henriksen in it, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. And there's this guy that he falls off of a cliff, and scientists find him, and they're like, "Oh, we want to save him." So they do all these make all these measures to save him, and may have gone a little too far with how they saved him. So now he's basically this inhuman version of himself that can't die. And he doesn't have any hair anymore, and he's just this almost like one of those creatures in a way. And he's going around the facility or whatever and offing people. And at the very end of the movie, there's someone that gets away via helicopter, and he almost gets them. And it just the movie scared the bejesus out of me. And
So
I
this one
was
did too. This one did the same thing.
it was like this, it was kind of like the same thing, and then the
Okay.
parallels there. And it scared me to a point where remember, grandparents are in the other room sleeping,
Mhm.
and I'm in a camper. And I'm looking out the windows like it's really dark out there. So I'm looking at the other VHS tapes that they had, and I grabbed, my grandma still teases me about this to this day. I grabbed Little Mermaid and stuck it in so that I could cleanse my palate of my mind
Yeah.
and go to sleep. This had to be like 20 years ago. But it just reminded me of that so much, Chris.
Man. It didn't
It
interject any
was,
memories like that for me, but okay.
it
Yeah.
didn't impact you in that
No,
way.
no. It's a good movie, but I don't recall. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's because of when I was a kid, we did go tent camping and stuff like that. So I think
Yeah, I'm like you though. I was never that guy. I was forced to as a youngster, and yeah, not that guy.
our backs can't handle it now.
No, I wouldn't want to do it.
So,
I could handle it.
yeah.
Anyways,
Anyways, back to the movie.
yeah,
Yeah, good movie. I recommend it if you're someone that enjoys
Lou
those.
Temple's great in it.
Lou Temple's great in it. Scout did a great job.
Mhm.
Although, if I had to give any negatives on the movie at all, I would say the way the writing was, they have her making some really bad decisions. That's just how the character is written. And I'm just like, why would you do this? You're an epidemiologist or going to school for that. Why would you not trust what Lou Temple is telling you?
Well, for the same reason that when people say don't go in there, people go in there.
People go
For
in
that
there
same
anyway.
reason, you got to have a movie. You got to have a movie. So these things have to happen. That's what we're supposed to do. You're supposed to go, why? Why did you do that? Why could you be so stupid like that? Because you have
So
to have a movie.
it's intense. I feel
Yeah.
like it has really good tension moments, and I it's rewatchable. I love telling people if I feel like it's rewatchable because to me that sets the bar a little bit higher
I
too.
do think it's free on, I think it may be free on Prime.
I think I did see it on Prime.
Yeah, you can look around.
Yeah,
It's one of those that you could probably find free to watch somewhere, or you can get
right.
it on Prime for probably $4, you know.
And there's something I do want to mention. We always talk about Tubi, but another place that people want to look, believe it or not, YouTube. I know people aren't supposed to
Yeah.
be uploading entire movies to YouTube,
Well,
but
they've
it
got
does ha
free movies on there too
yeah,
themselves. They're usually bigger movies, not
yeah,
like independent horror or anything like that. But
right.
yeah, you can find
You
stuff
can
on
find
there.
it. It's
Yep.
like the black market of
Hmm.
of movies. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I right before we hit record, I had seen that it's actually on YouTube. So if
Okay.
somebody wanted to,
There you go.
there are ads. If you don't have YouTube Premium, you are going to have to deal with ads. But
Yep.
same thing for
Mhm.
Tubi.
So you go watch this
So
video and then go watch that.
yeah, definitely. Wicked Little Things was in 2006. That
Hmm.
was actually even before her time with Rob Zombie.
Yeah, it's another good one.
This one is about this incident that happens in 1913. There's these kids that are being used to work inside of a mine
Plant
and
Dynamite.
with dynamite. And so they have a couple of these kids go in with dynamite to, have a controlled explosion inside the mine. And something happens and these kids get basically buried alive in there. It's a hybrid, like a zombie ghost hybrid of a movie. It's not one or the other, it's both.
Little bit of Children of the Corn thrown in there.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
and
is.
yeah,
Very much so. And so if you like Children of the Corn, you like creepy kid movies, I think this one could be something to entertain. As far as negatives go, the acting of the mom, and this kind of surprises me a little bit because the mom has been in other movies before. The name escapes me, but she's been in other movies before. She was in The In Crowd in the early 2000s. I didn't think she did too bad with that, but this particular role, I think was a little miscast for her. However, Scout did a great job. Chloe Moretz is Scout's little sister in this. She, of course, did a great job. That girl, I don't think she can do any wrong in
yeah.
movies.
I thought that was like one of her first movies. It turns out it's actually like her sixth role, and you could already tell she was spot on. And then Scout played the older, rebellious teen sister who's mom's having trouble wrangling in and wants to go do her own thing and doesn't want to be there, and so she's got that kind of role. And but yeah, Chloe, you can already see she's really good.
Okay, these kids that are zombie kids, and by the way, this movie, Wicked Little Things, it's also known as AKA Zombies. It
Yeah,
has two different names.
it's got two different names.
So these kids, though, that were killed in that mine, they're vengeful. They're lustful for blood, so they're going after pretty much anyone that doesn't have their bloodline, which is why in the movie there's blood on a couple of the doors in the community because it's saving them. These kids, they sniff the blood. Okay, that's someone that's from my bloodline. I'm going to let them live. So that's just a little piece of the movie that might inspire someone to watch it. And there's a guy in the community that's trying to help them. So, but
I
I
think it
thought
had a
it,
lot to do too with ones that maybe were related to ones that wronged them, that stuck in their
yes,
minds, and that's why in the end they
right.
avoided them. Spoiler alert. They didn't kill certain people in the end.
They wanted the people that were responsible
Responsible.
for what
Bloodlines.
happened.
Right, the bloodlines. Yeah, like you
Absolutely.
said. So,
So,
and then this one, as you know, we like to, when we can, twist into other Scarefest 2025 attendees, not directly this time, indirectly. This has Juliette Lewis, who's been announced, has her late great father, Jeffrey Lewis, character actor, over 200 roles, film and television, been around, did a lot of roles in the 80s, 70s. Once you see him, you'll know oh, that guy. So
yeah, a lot of the Clint
he's
Eastwood
not
movies.
in it very much, but he does have a few scenes, and that
Yeah.
was just kind of a neat little connection there
Yeah,
between.
almost like a little cameo for him,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah,
So that movie, the kids, I like what they did with the makeup with the kids. They gave them all black eyes, soulless black eyes, and there's another one that's rated R. These kills are not done off screen, so just be ready if you're,
yeah. Not
I
as gory.
I feel like these kids, I feel like creepy kid genre, it's a subgenre of horror. So if you're someone that likes the creepy
Children of
kids,
the
creepy
Corn.
dolls, that kind of thing, This
Yeah,
this is a good one to check out. And I don't remember if I saw this on YouTube. It might be another one that's out there,
yeah.
but it's low budget. It is low budget, and you're going to be able to tell.
Well, it got,
But
like I say, it got entered into some independent horror films and festivals, and won a few awards.
yeah,
So yeah,
and I mean, there's one scene that I'll talk about too. So because Scout is more the rebellious teen, she's out with a couple friends, and that whole scene showing how they encounter these kids while they're parked out there smoking weed and whatever else they're doing,
being
drinking,
being kids,
and these kids show up, pretty much all hell breaks loose at that point. And
it's a decent scene.
yeah, it's
It's
a
a
good
decent scene.
scene. One more thing that I wanted to mention about this before we head to the last movie is this was directed by J.S. Cardone. Did you know that Toby Hooper almost directed this?
I did not. No.
He was the set to direct this movie until he got the chance to direct Mortuary, and that pulled him away. He's like, no, no, I think I'm gonna go do this other project now. But I do wonder how
How
different it would
different?
have been when I
They
find
would have
that.
had that script to work with, so it just depends.
Yeah, I
Probably
do.
visually, I'm sure it would have been different.
Yeah.
Atmosphere wise, I'm sure it would have been different. But yeah,
Yeah, it's just always cool finding out little trivial pieces just to kind of picture what it could have been like, with that little bit of change.
yeah.
So, anywho, back onto the three that we have. Our third and final movie that we want to talk about was A Creature Was Stirring. It's kind of marketed as a holiday-inspired horror.
Hmm.
I don't feel like it's heavy into the holidays. It does have
It's
some
decorated for Christmas,
red
that's
and
for
green
sure.
lights throughout the home and
Yeah,
everything, but it's it basically covers it's like this winter setting near Christmas time. The mom is a nurse and she's keeping her daughter's illness under control with methods that may
ethical.
not may not seem very ethical, yes.
Yeah,
So, not giving too much away here, but she has her at one point in an ice bath because for whatever affliction she has that's not told to you right away in the movie, she has to keep her temperature at a certain level or something really bad could happen.
right.
So you kind of see that happening throughout the movie, and then how Scout's role would be in this is that her and her brother are missionaries, right?
Well,
Religious.
they broke into the house
Yeah, yeah, but they're missionaries
looking
and
for, yeah,
looking
for cover
for
in the storm.
yes, because they don't want to freeze to death.
The mother, played by Chrissy Metz from This Is Us, is
She's convincing in this. I feel like
yeah.
she played a convincing role as the mom,
Mhm.
and you may question her methods throughout the movie, and you're kind of wondering like, what is with this mom? So there's something going on here. And when Scout's character and her brother break into the house, and well, now they're in the house, they can't really go anywhere, but the brother is now injured because the mom was like, she knew someone was breaking into her house, so she took care of it. And so
Yeah.
he's injured and they're not going anywhere for a little while. And so now they're kind of in the middle of whatever the situation is with the daughter, and they're like, what the heck? Because they're sitting around for dinner and they're kind of picking up on some weird vibes from the mom and how she treats the daughter. And I think they're under the impression that the daughter is kind of being abused, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
something's off. She may not be treating her right, and yeah, just weird, weird feelings that were given off at the dinner scene.
Yeah. And you're from the I think believe from the trailer even you can kind of tell that there's something. I mean, literally in the title it's called A Creature Was Stirring. So there's
Yeah,
something that is amongst them in the home, and really good trailer piece showing Scout kind of going through this tunnel with this huge candy cane.
I love that scene.
I do too.
That's a great looking scene.
Yeah, so I mean I feel like it's a movie that has that kind of M. Night. If you like M. Night Shyamalan movies, I do feel that some will enjoy this. I'm not going to give it away, but I do want to
Right.
say that there's a plot twist at the end that makes you think. It made me think for a while. In fact, I had gone to Reddit afterwards and I want to see what everyone else is saying about this movie. But when it gets to the end and it shows that reveal, I want you to in order to appreciate the movie, I don't want you to go back and think too much about some of the plot holes because it will drive you a little crazy. You're gonna be like, well, that doesn't make sense, and that doesn't make sense. And if they're gonna do this, then that wouldn't make sense either. Just take it for face value at the end. I'm looking at you, Chris.
That's not what I did. No,
Take it for face value when they reveal the ending because when I saw it, because I'm such a fan of those plot twists, I was like, that is so cool that they did that. And while they may not have gotten to the point, honestly, they got
that's
there.
the problem. I like the
Yeah,
twist. I'm not sure how they went about it.
right.
Is what I like. You can dismiss a few things, but then you go back and go, that's a pretty big miss right there. If you're telling me this is the case now, then what about this? How do you explain this?
Yeah.
I don't really think you want that when you're talking about plot holes. You want a little divot. You don't really want a hole.
I mean,
You can
yeah,
survive divots,
I
but
get it. And I just feel like if people are going to try to appreciate the movie though, try not to
no,
focus
yeah,
so entirely on it because
yeah,
it's I like
something
it.
like that. I try not to think too much, but there are
Yeah.
some things I'm like, wait a minute, that's
Because
not.
you can and you can ruin a movie for yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
yes, we have movies out there like Fast and the Furious and they clearly don't make any sense. That car
never seen a one.
cannot jump from here to there. It's not physically
Never did.
possible, but we're going
Yeah,
to enjoy it anyway
yeah.
because it's fast cars and it's cool people that are playing those character roles, and we're just going to enjoy 2 hours or whatever it is,
I've enjoyed not seeing any of them. There you go.
But you like Mission Impossible, and you
I
know that
love
some of
Mission
those scenes,
Impossible.
Chris, you
Yeah.
know some of those scenes in Mission
Oh,
Impossible
sure.
are not possible.
I'm not the one to disprove that though.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, movies like this, I feel if people can just get to the end, just see what the point was that they were trying to make and really just enjoy it for what it was. Lean into the reveal in that final couple minutes,
Yeah.
and it can be a good movie.
It's more psychological. There
It
is
is.
a
Yeah.
little bit. You've got the monsters and the monster appearing and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and pretty decent practical effects.
Yeah, I'd say. And a good psychological horror,
Yeah,
like you
it's
said.
not.
I enjoy
I
those.
don't. There wasn't a lot of CGI. I like the look of it. The movie as
Hmm.
a whole. You talked about the Christmas. I
Yeah.
liked the Christmas look to it. I know it
Yeah.
was filmed entirely in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes, Louisville, Kentucky. That was the
Yep.
other part that I was going to mention that I thought was
Yep.
super cool.
Yep. It
Yeah.
was filmed
Little
entirely
tidbit.
there, which is where Scout's husband is from, actually.
At some point, we're going to be doing an episode talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and Halloween 2, which has both Scout Taylor-Compton and Danielle Harris. I just thought it would be really cool to have an episode that really dives into those movies because they're kind of controversial in the way of not everyone enjoys them. They rely on Carpenter's, original Halloween
Outline.
and they just really don't like to see any kind of remake. And there's a lot of people out there that maybe just wouldn't even give it a shot to see it. So
Some people want to see remakes. They want to see it remade shot by shot, and then they get upset when it's not like the original.
but I think this was a cool vision that Rob Zombie had, and that is something
I
that we
love the
will
first one.
mention.
Yeah,
We
I was gonna
will,
say we could this that would be a whole other hour. Again, we could twist it back. Lou Temple's also in Halloween in the first one.
yes. So
So
we'll
there you
we'll
go.
definitely refer back to
Oh yeah.
that. I'm really looking forward to diving into that episode with you for the Rob Zombie films
Yeah.
because he does have a very, and I've mentioned this before in a past episode, it's a very visceral feeling. I didn't get that from John Carpenter's Halloween. It was scary.
His movies are it's
Yes.
the reason I like the Halloween movies is because they feel real.
Yes.
These scripts are real. The words are very, very real. It's the way people talk. The violence is very realistic. And yeah, I love the first one to death.
It's and to hear some people talk, they prefer it over the original Halloween. And you know what? That's okay. People are allowed.
I'll die on that mountain. That's not to say that I don't love Carpenter's original. I understand it for what it
Yeah.
is. I love it. I know that it is
It's a
one of the
classic.
greats, one of the classic. It's one of the greats that set everything off
Yeah.
after it. But if you're going to ask me to pick one, yeah, I enjoy the Rob Zombie one because of the realness.
And it's a blueprint for horror movies that came after it. So I think it,
Yeah,
it it had its place in history.
yeah.
And I mean, my favorite will always be Halloween H2O. I have my reasons for that. I love the 90s feel to it, but going back to Rob Zombies, there's just nothing else like it. The first when I had, and I don't want to get too into it because I know we're going to save some of that for the other episode that we do, but her role as Laurie Strode in it was very different. You had to almost pull those two apart, very different from
Mhm.
the Laurie Strode that we knew, from the 70s and 80s. So,
Right.
which I don't think is a bad thing.
Sometimes people can't do that. They want it exactly as Jamie Lee did it, and that's not what that is. It's just a retelling.
Exactly.
Look how many times Frankenstein's been retold or Dracula's been retold. Not everybody is going to be Bela Lugosi, exactly like Bela Lugosi. They're going to have their
Right.
own take on it. David Gordon Green did the same thing with the new Halloween trilogy.
Yeah.
Some people loved it, some people loathed it. Why? Well, more Michael, or we wanted it to see this. We wanted it to be exactly like this. That's not great on remakes. I don't want to see exactly the same film, frame by frame, word by word. I want a different. It's just interpretation. That's all it
And
is.
and
It's
if
just
we're
different
being honest,
interpretations.
Rob Zombie's Halloween movies were terrifying.
The Carpenter's movies was definitely less violent, definitely less bloody because they didn't want any blood in it really. And more late 70s kind of laid back, still terrifying, still great shots. My God, I love Carpenter. I love that movie still. But if someone's going to force me to choose between the two, I prefer the Rob Zombie's Halloween. And I'm
Yeah.
fine saying it. I'm fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
this is like another whole
Yeah, so at this
uh,
point, we're gonna save some of this to talk to you all
teaser. That
about.
was a teaser.
It's a little teaser about the
Yeah.
conversation that's coming, probably sometime in May, June,
Yeah. Right on.
for our conversation about Rob Zombies 1 and 2, Halloween 1 and 2. I'm looking forward to that. I can really dive into that. That could be an extended conversation for sure. But Chris, thank you so much for recommending
Also,
these to me.
don't forget, if you guys want to meet these people, Scout, Danielle, Juliet Lewis, Scarefest Weekend 2025 in Lexington, Kentucky,
And I always
check it
forget to
out.
mention this because I am so new at this. I've only been doing these I've only done maybe 8 to 10 of these,
Mhm.
but I always forget to tell people if you like this kind of content, you like
Like and
hearing
subscribe.
people talking about horror, like the channel on YouTube
Subscribe.
and subscribe. And, by all means, if you want to join the conversation, please drop a comment because I always do try to respond to those and just engage. Because if you engage with the channels, it lets the algorithms know, oh yeah, let's show this to more people. So, but thank you for checking out Fear the Talking Heads. I love having this rotating cast of guest co-hosts, and Chris has come on the show at least twice now.
I've got nothing going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So appreciate
We're
it.
good.
But thanks for watching and tune in next time. Bye, Chris.
Bye.